of Nairobi Waters, our Rivers Commission, so that we are able to look at what exactly we are talking about. So without much ado, I want to welcome on stage, of course, we'll be recognizing the CEO as we proceed. I want to welcome on stage Madam Pamela Olet, who is the keynote speaker. Please come over. She's going to be with us here. I also want to welcome on stage Teresia Baika, PS, our PS, karibu sana tafadhali, our PS. Let's appreciate our PS as she comes over. Yeah, I know we are tired, but of course you can do a good clapping, yeah? Isn't it? I want us to appreciate the presence of our main speaker, who is Mumo Mosuva, who is our commissioner. Karibu sana bwana Mumo. I believe Mumo has a lot for us this evening. I also want to appreciate the presence of Commissioner Elizabeth Wathuti, who is with us tonight, or this evening. Let's appreciate her. She's been doing a great job. We also want to appreciate the presence of Natalie Silantoi, the voice of children. You know, our children, we need to hear the voice of our children. She's there coming. Please appreciate her. Yeah, we need the voice of children. And then I have from the Muungano wa Vijiji, Nisera Wanjiro. Nisera Wanjiro. Karibu sana Nisera. Nisera Wanjiro. Yeah, I think I've welcomed all those who need to be around with us here tonight. Now, before we move on, I would like us to appreciate the presence of our CEO. I'm trying to spot him where he is. Oh, karibu sana bwana CEO. It's nice to have you in this meeting. It's wonderful to have you around. And of course, now, before we do much, I want us to move very fast because of time, and I wish to welcome our Madam to speak to us. That is Madam Dr. Pamela Olet. Oh, okay. Olet to come and give us a speech before we proceed. Karibu sana, Madam Chair.
Good evening. I hope we shall be able to communicate with our low energies. As a commission, we are pleased that the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Ruto, has taken personal charge of the climate leadership nationally and globally, and the need to treat this as a matter of urgency. The key mandate of the Commission is coordinated action. Why this? The rivers of the Nairobi River Basin is not being cleaned for the first time. What missed then was the coordinated approach. We are expected to look at policies, review them, and develop policies that are friendly for the implementation of the regeneration of the river basin activities. I also want to confirm that part of what we are expected to do is what we are doing today, which is engaging in public hearings. So our expectation is to put up activities, especially with our youth. Can we be able to engage the youth on the rivers we want? So the conversation is starting today. So we want the youth to take up their leadership. The river regeneration is part of the climate action agenda that has occupied this week. And we expect, as we have our youth speak about climate action, We also have the elders speak about climate action. We are expecting intergenerational actions using science as an aspect for key for decision making. Regeneration of the river basin will be driven by technology. His Excellency the President, during his speech, says Africa should take leadership in climate action by mobilizing its internal resources and fill gaps externally. Key issues to be addressed under the climate action as we consider the river generation is regenerative agriculture, because this is what engages our communities along the river basin. We engage in nature-based solutions and other social impacts. Youth unemployment is a crisis in Africa, and the river regeneration offers a great opportunity for job creation. Clean environment is a social justice issue as enshrined in our constitution. The riparian acreage, over 5,000 acres, is an opportunity to use the river basin to turn around agricultural production for socioeconomic impact. The river basin has a high investment potential. Those who engage in the river know about the impact of the circular economy. We expect the hospitality sector to thrive in the river basin, sports, spaces for green health, and not to leave behind the carbon credit debate. It's all within the river basin. Our journey to the future includes transformative partnerships. Up to this level, including today, we have engaged with different partners, and we are going to use those partnerships to deliver in the regeneration of the river basins. This journey is not going to leave the youth behind. We expect the youth to take their space. And as the message which was given to the youth by the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, adapt or die. So that is your driving motto. In going green, if we take the cue from His Excellency the President, the NRC is inviting all of you to join in their rivers generation campaign, that is, let the rivers flow. Thank you.
We can do better than that. We can do better than that. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. That was nice. Now, moving forward, I want us to appreciate our PS as she comes to give us a speech on what the Commission is all about and what they are doing, their collaborations, of course, between the 5 counties, which are very key in the restoration of Nairobi rivers from there moving forward. Karibu sana. Let's appreciate.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening. Are we tired? We can't be tired when we are talking about life, right? So I want to start off by maybe introducing myself and the reason we are here. My name is Tresia Mbaika. I'm the PS State Department for Devolution in the Office of the Deputy President. And I want to ask one question. If we ever ask ourselves why every major city has at least a river weaving through it. Washington, D.C. has the Potomac, London has the Thames, Cairo has the Nile, and the list goes on and on. Nairobi was once renowned as the green city in the sun. She took tremendous pride in being a city with a blend of natural forests, savanna grasslands, and 3 rivers running through it. And these rivers are Ngong, Mathare, and the Nairobi River. Some of the glory is gone, especially with the pollution of Nairobi River. How did we get ourselves here? Instead of asking that question, His Excellency the President William Ruto took a radical route to reclaim the rivers of Nairobi. His vision is to restore Nairobi rivers to be the spine of the city's blue and green infrastructure for a better urban environment, and more so to improve the quality of life for the city dwellers. The journey for regenerating the Nairobi River Basin began with establishing the Nairobi Rivers Commission. The commission is part of the President's grand plan to clean up Nairobi River and restore it to its former glory. The late President Nelson Mandela once said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." The task may have looked insurmountable, but the Commission has so far exhibited the capability to regenerate Nairobi rivers. The Commission launched the action plan for the Nairobi Rivers regeneration on 1st September 2023. Friends, this is not a coincidence. This reflects the President Ruto's commitment and leadership to climate action. We live in an era of interconnected and accelerated crisis, and climate change underpins this. The entire of Africa has congregated in Nairobi for the past 3 days to discuss climate change, matters in the African context, at the African Climate Summit. This summit is crucial in preparing for the upcoming COP28 meeting in Dubai, ensuring that Africa's voice is heard and the Africa's priorities are duly taken on board. Charity begins at home, and hence the pledge by the President to regenerate the Nairobi Rivers Basin as part of the residents' as part of contribution to reduce climate risks, increase biodiversity, and enhance resident climate change and socioeconomic resilience. During the opening ceremony of Monday, His Excellency the President reminded us this: climate action is not a global North issue or a global South issue. It is our collective challenge, and it affects all of us. We need to come together to find common global solution. This reinforces the initiative of regenerating Nairobi rivers, and it's about walking the talk. Dear Green friends, the assignment of the Nairobi Rivers Commission combines climate adaptation and climate mitigation interventions. If I may single out, the most significant task of the Commission is to coordinate the activities of rehabilitation, protection, restoration, beautification, sustainable development, and monitor legal compliance. The outcome of this intervention is to realize a vibrant spine for blue and green infrastructure, fostering inclusive and sustainable urban development. There is no better illustration of the contribution of the regeneration of the Nairobi Rivers Basin to climate action. Distinguished delegates, according to the UN Habitat, pollution of urban rivers is increasingly becoming a global challenge. More than half of the world's 500 biggest rivers are estimated to be seriously polluted. Keeping urban rivers clean is important for food ecological functioning, human health, and the blue economy. The UNEP estimates that economic cost of pollution to the Nairobi River Basin is 30 billion to 25 million US annually. The challenge to the Commission is to provide leadership to extract value from the Nairobi Rivers Basin, which is estimated to be 273 billion Kenya shillings per year. This value is through water provision, carbon sequestering, and recreation. As a Commission, you must exhibit the socio-economic value of the river as assets and eloquently define the Nairobi River's regeneration contribution to the GDP. To tonight I wish to recognize the efforts and contribution of the Nairobi Rivers Commission in developing the action plan for the Nairobi River regeneration. The action plan illustrates the Commission's understanding of the intervention that seek to enhance biodiversity and agricultural land, forest land, marine ecosystem, and urban areas. The Nairobi Rivers Recovery Strategy also proposes regeneration activities to sustain aquatic life in the river channel streams. Further, as captured by the vision of the action plan, is a clean and healthy river, Nairobi River's ecosystem for socio-economic transformation and climate resilient development. The regeneration of Nairobi River Basin is a huge contribution to the climate resilient dividend. I congratulate you for accurately interpreting the master's brief. The Commission's big ticket item are coordination, protection, restoration, rehabilitation, and beautification of the rivers and water bodies within the Nairobi rivers. I take note that the imperatives for the regeneration of Nairobi River Basin are firmly founded in the following pillars: pollution and water security, agriculture and food security, public health, protecting and restoring areas of high ecological and tourism value, urban growth of towns along the river's basin, and socio-economic development. These pillars outline the potential of linking the restoration of Nairobi River Basin to the climate change agenda and the blue and green economy. In conclusion, let me borrow from His Excellency the President yesterday during the opening of the Heads of State session of the Africa Climate Summit to encourage you. We have a long way to go and no time to lose. Even as we plan, we must act now. The regeneration of Nairobi River's basin is an emergency, and we must undertake the appropriate action to restore the glory of the green city in the sun. Thank you very much. To the question by our moderator on how we are facilitating the Nairobi Rivers Commission by coordinating the counties. One of the role of the State Department for Devolution, and to bring you to context into this, all of us, the Nairobi Rivers Commission, the State Department for Devolution, we are under the office of the Deputy President, the Presidency, and as a State Department, the Nairobi Rivers Commission is anchored in the State Department. We work together as a team through the Executive Order number 1 of 2023. And as a State Department, our role is to coordinate the two levels of government to ensure that there is harmonious working relationship between the two levels of government. And that is the reason this Nairobi Rivers traverses the 5 counties of Nairobi, Kiambu, Kajiado, Makueni, and Kiambu. So, because of the limited resources we have, in these new activities that the Nairobi Rivers Commission is undertaking, we must ensure that the little we have, it's spent on the right way and where it's supposed to be. So we are ensuring that all these counties are part of this initiative. They are represented in the commission at very high levels. Nairobi County, we sit with the Deputy Governor, and we ensure that whatever the activities Nairobi, and even government agencies and ministries and departments, it is in a coordinated approach so that we don't lose anything in doing the wrong things. So this, actually the main role of the commission is to coordinate the many activities happening in this Nairobi Rivers ecosystem. So we ensure that coordination happens, we ensure that there is collaboration and also consultation so that we do not become another initiative, another statistics. So many activities happen in that river. But again, after many, many years, we still have polluted Nairobi rivers. So on this one, the president, the presidency, and all of us to our own interest is to clean Nairobi rivers. So every effort, every resource must go to the right activity that the commission has identified with its many stakeholders so that we achieve our goal. It's also ensuring that the commission, through the national government treasury, we have the resources that we need to undertake this enormous activity, and also that we work within the legal framework of government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's appreciate our PS, please. Thank you. You know, when the president set up the commission, the first question that came to my mind, I am a journalist and I cover environment. So the first question that came to my mind, what difference is this going to make? Because you've had these things here before. I've personally told many stories about the Nairobi rivers. So, okay, I will see you later, Madam PS, for more engagement on this. Because we need to support also as journalists and of course as media in the country. Now, I wish to, before I call the next speaker to come and give us a presentation, it's going to recognize that this commission has commissioners who are very key in making sure that all that is happening and supposed to happen happens at the right time and the right way. So we appreciate the presence of our speaker, who is Momo Masuva, and also Elizabeth Wathuti, who are commissioners in this commission. They are very key people, of course. From them, I will be expecting much, because he who much is given. So karibu sana bwana, our main speaker, Mwana Momo, to give us a presentation. Don't fear, I won't put you to too much task. I will support you.
Ask all the questions. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. No pressure at all. It's quite interesting when you're presenter at the last minute of this very, very important summit. And I'm sure you're all very tired and weary, so I'll try and keep this short and sweet and probably focus my mind on what difference will this commission make. I think that's the important point that hopefully I can be able to clarify. But I think to point us to the answer to that question, this summit has happened probably at the right time, because the last 2 days we've been talking about climate change and the impact of climate change, and the focus has been largely on energy and decarbonization, because it is true that the biggest driver of the temperature rise in terms of climate change has been the way we have been generating and using energy and the impact of that. And so if you've been listening the last 2 days, there's been a lot of conversations around investment in alternative clean energy. There's been a lot of discussions around decarbonization and the way that energy or clean energy and decarbonization will shift the industries of tomorrow, and why Africa must take its place in defining its role, not in complaining about the impacts of climate change, but using that as an opportunity for growth and investment. But there's something we all forget many times when we talk about climate change, because we've been focusing our energy on energy, if that makes sense. But there's something called water. Water, that thing that you drink, H2O. And it seems to be forgotten in this whole conversation. And I think this is what I want to, or I hope that this presentation will also focus our attention to: water. Is there a case for investment in river regeneration and its contribution to climate adaptation? And I think if we can begin to start thinking that way, then river cleaning and river regeneration begins to make economic sense in this space of climate change and climate adaptation. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So if we can go to the next step. When His Excellency the President formed the Nairobi Rivers Commission, and as Madam PS has highlighted and our chair ably put the role of this commission. Our role is not to come and clean the rivers, but to coordinate and monitor and support all the various actors who have already been in this space and are doing it, but perhaps in a siloed approach and not realizing the value and the impact of the activities. But how do you do that? How do you create that unifying vision, and how do you create an impetus for us to really look at our rivers as an asset and double our efforts and start thinking differently about what the impact of our actions would be and possibly the impact of our investments? So we as a commission have taken a different approach. We're not going to be preaching cleaning the rivers. Well, we will be talking about cleaning the rivers, but that's not our focus. Our focus really is to try and get all of us to see the value of this natural asset. And if we can begin to see the value of this natural asset, then cleaning makes sense because we can create opportunities for investment. We can also create opportunities for the rivers to play their part in contributing towards this whole debate about climate change, climate adaptation, and mitigation. So next slide. I think when you start looking at the Nairobi rivers as an asset, then the story becomes interesting. Now, did you know that, and I think this was mentioned, that the Nairobi Rivers Basin has an ecological value, ecosystem services value of $2.3 billion per year? And even then, when we say that, and I think this is an estimate from UNEP, we think it's grossly underestimated because we think that it has a much bigger multiplier effect. And we know that because the cost of pollution to the rivers has a direct impact on people's lives. It's estimated that about 30 billion per year is lost due to the pollution to the rivers. We think that's an underestimate because when you start thinking about the multiplier effect of that, it must be that big. So there's a strong imperative to think about regenerating the rivers differently. Now, when we talk about the Nairobi rivers, most people think about the rivers cutting through Nairobi. And the Commission's mandate actually is looking at 5 counties, that is Nairobi, Kiambu, Kajiado, Machakos, and Makueni. But what is interesting is that those 5 counties actually are part of the upper catchment zone of the Nairobi rivers. And the Athi Basin is the second largest basin in terms of water supply to the country. And those 5 counties generate about 60% of the volume of water that goes through the Athi Basin. So pollution to the Nairobi rivers is not just pollution for Nairobi, is not just pollution for Kajiado, Machakos, Makueni. It is pollution for a huge part of this country, affecting human life, economic activity, and public health. So there's a very, very strong imperative for cleaning the Nairobi rivers and restoring them to their natural state. Next slide, please. So if you start thinking about the economic cases, and I'm really trying to build the case here for why we must regenerate the rivers, we know that about 50% of the water that is generated through the rivers is polluted. So, you know, I would be asking you the question today, when you think about where your food and your water comes from, do you know about the quality of that? We know that about 50 kilometers of land is inundated. We are destroying the riparian reserves, and yet we could better exploit that land and try and create value for it. We know that there is waste that is generated that is going into the rivers, and there's a huge opportunity for waste to energy, so in terms of creating economic activity. Next. And we know that the population of Nairobi is going to more than double in the next 20, 30 years. So we are more people using a limited resource. And that's a very strong reason for regenerating the Nairobi rivers. So there's a very, very strong reason for us to think about the rivers and to think about how we can be able to change and improve on them. Thank you. Next. So I've touched on some of the imperatives for regeneration, just to try and get us thinking broadly about that in terms of pollution, socioeconomic development, urban growth, public health, and future investment. And this, in my view, and I think it's the view of the Commission, is a very strong imperative for investing in restoring the rivers and improving the livelihoods of people. Next. And, you know, Nairobi is probably the single largest polluter amongst the 5 counties. But when you start thinking about the pollution and the activities that are happening along the rivers, and as we begin to address all the challenges we are facing, then we begin to start seeing opportunities. Because if we're going to create an impetus for investment, because we want people, we want private sector capital, we want to be talking to the green bonds to come and invest through this whole climate action and climate adaptation space, we can see opportunities for creating and increasing economic growth along our cities. Thank you. Next. So, responding to a very generation. Next. Transportation. I mean, in our city of Nairobi, the rivers cut through the most interesting parts, and we think that there's a huge opportunity for creating non-motorized and public transportation systems. So that is the vision that we want to build as we move the rivers forward. And next. Working with you, our partners, we want to find interesting and innovative ways to create opportunities for funding and being able to bring all sorts of investment to come in to drive the regeneration of the rivers. Next. So as we move forward, one of the things that you will see very clearly as a commission is that we will be wanting to be part of that strong conversation about socioeconomic development and using the rivers as part of that and playing their part in the whole climate agenda. And we are very keen to make sure that we contribute and play our part. But as we do that, we must act now. And I don't want to go into the details of that because the chair has spoken very clearly about that. But for us, we want to make sure that through our rivers recovery strategy, we'll begin to address pollution immediately. We will start looking at catalytic projects. We will look at developing strong partnerships with communities. And we want to work with everyone who's in this space of the climate agenda towards delivering this whole vision of regenerating the Nairobi rivers. So I think I'll stop there and leave this page in front of everyone. This is a very important plane about our action plan, looking at the 10 key aspects in which we are building our plan, looking at areas that we think everyone can identify with, from catchment protection, riparian, right through to monitoring and evaluation. And through the action plan that we launched last week, if you go to the next slide, we'll be working very closely with you to build a strong public campaign to make sure that we work with all institutions and stakeholders and set up a strong command and coordination center and put all that information out there through various tools to make sure that all citizens can participate and play their part in regeneration and restoring the rivers. So with that, I'd like to leave that with there. That is our vision, but I really hope that we can all begin to start talking about our waters, about our rivers, as a key part of the whole climate action and climate agenda, because there's a very, very strong case for investment in river regeneration in their contribution to climate adaptation. So Dan, thank you very much. I hope I didn't get it all muddled up, but if I've not answered any question, the smart ladies there will sort me out. Thank you very much.
No, I think you've done well. Let's appreciate Banamumo has done a good job. Yeah, he has been, but before you settle down completely, come just for a second. I want to give you 30 seconds to tell us about the launch of the action plan on 23rd, because I think it's critical for us to know.
I thought you were going to throw that to the ladies. You know, they can speak better to that. Well, thank you. I think as we think the big vision and we think about how to capture value and drive the whole regeneration, we must start somewhere. And I spoke about the 10 action plan areas or thematic areas that we have identified as being the focal point of getting this whole program going. So we want, from the 23rd of September, to start that whole coordinated and integrated plan of dealing with solid waste, of dealing with catchment protection, of dealing with sewerage, of dealing with institutional waste, and also addressing our drainage and hydrology. So those we've identified as the 4 key primary areas that we want to bring everyone together. And as we begin to remove the immediate waste in the rivers, we'll then start putting in place the thinking around the vision, so that we're not just cleaning the rivers for the sake of cleaning the rivers, but we're cleaning the rivers to create the platform for investment. And we are hoping that the next big conversation in Nairobi after clean energy will be clean rivers and investment in clean rivers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let us appreciate our Commissioner, Mr. Musa Musuva, for that wonderful presentation. Asante sana Musuva. I'll be looking for you because of the 2.3 billion. I want to know what you're talking about. Not today, another day. So I'm interested in the money. So before we move on to the next speaker, allow me to at least to ask some more of, we have more commissioners with us around, and it's critical to have them at least wave to us. We have a Professor Elijah Biama, the vice-chair. Yes, Professor, wonderful. Let's appreciate the professor. We have Dr. Ojwang Duncan. Dr. Ojwang Duncan. Or maybe I stepped out or something. We have Eva Mohir. I think I saw Eva somewhere. Oh yeah, she's around here. We have Carlota Dalago. Wow, that's a big name. Oh, she's at the back there. And we have Grace Selewa, yes. Grace. At the back there, I can see you, Grace. Those are some of the commissioners we have in this team, and I believe, look at the names and the titles, they are big names. They are big and ready for the job. I'm quite impressed. Now, we want to move to the next speaker very fast. Remember, this generation has to do something to the next generation, so we need to set the pace. And in that bit of setting the pace, I want to call Miss Natalie Silantoi. Natalie will tell us, as a child, how does a dirty river affect you? Please come over and tell us that. Thank you. I think we have a mic here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Silantoi. I am 11 years old. I school in Shalalji Nagpa Academy in Nakuru, and I'm Mini Miss Environment Kenya, Miss Multinational World Supermodel, and the current face of Nairobi, and I'm also an environmental champion. Degradation of the Nairobi River is as a result of pollution. This has posed a major threat to the people, especially children. Some are health, social, and others economic. But who suffers the most from this? The children. It is important that we involve our children in campaigns and sanitizations about Nairobi River, its benefits, and why everyone should keep it clean. This way, we shall avoid further degradation of the river. My grandparents told me, and my grandparents and parents once told me that they used to swim in rivers, but as the children of now, we cannot because the rivers are polluted. Some of the children cannot even swim, and some of the children cannot afford swimming pools, so they have no otherwise but to stay like that. And some children also have no money for water, so they just drink the polluted river's water and they become from happening. We can open environmental clubs, and the environmental conservation should also be a subject in schools. And yeah, we can also make cleanups on where we can go and clean up the rivers. Yeah, and thank you.
Wow. Let's appreciate her. Thank you, Natalie. You see, during my time at your age, we used to swim in our village rivers. But today, sadly, the rivers are dry. I can't even swim anymore. It's sad. But I think this conversation is key. Is it true? We need to restore our rivers, not just in Nairobi. After this, maybe the commission will move to the villages so that my river can flow once again. Now, moving forward, because of time, I'll be very fast. We have, when you move around Nairobi, more so in the informal settlements, you realize a lot of, there's serious pollution, and the communities living there suffer most. And to tell us something about it and how the community there is trying to make sure that they work on these rivers, we have Nisera Wanjiro from Muungano wa Wanavijiji. Wanavijiji, Vijiji, for those who don't know, it's villages. So she's from Muungano wa Wanavijiji. She'll tell us something about what they're doing in the community. Karibu sana Wanjiro, tell us what you are doing in the village.
Good evening, all of you. You know, sometimes back I took a visitor to see Nairobi River. But then when we arrived, he was like, where is the river? I can't see it. So as I speak about the river, is it the river or is it something else? Because these are, the waters turn black, red, green, and I don't know, and other colors. So as you've heard, my name is Nisera. And if there's a city planner here, you'll agree with me that most of the informal settlements are along the river. And in the informal settlements, we are facing one risk, that is the waste management, whereby we don't have the dumping site. And because of that, the rivers becomes our dumping site. But we are saying that, yeah, we are the problem. No, we are the problem. We are along the river. But we are the solution. And that is why in Muungano na Vijiji, we said we have to do something. Because we can't wait for external interventions to come and help us in the informal settlement. And we started organizing their groups living along the river. And organizing by research and also mapping, taking their data. And along the way, as we were doing that, I think God heard our prayers. The Nairobi River Commission was formed. And we were like, wow, this is timely. This is what we wanted. Yes. And we have mapped around over 200 groups living along the river, along the river ecosystem. And like in Rakisama, like the area that we're working with in Madare, we've mapped 66 groups that are living there. But why are we mapping? For us in Muungano, we don't just map. We are looking at a holistic approach in solving this menace of the river. And that's why when you look right there, you can see a very beautiful flower vessel. And this is something that has been made by the young people who are living along the river. And this is what we want. And some of the things that we've been doing is beautifying the spaces along the river, the green spaces. So we are coming up with the green spaces. We are recycling. We are upcycling. And we've been working with this group, and with the help of Nairobi River Commission, I can say it was a big changer to us, the co-production, the co-creation. And also, as I wrap up, I'd say in Muungano we believe in data. And we have the data. And also, above that, through the Voices of Just Climate Action, we've been able to facilitate, to give funding to around 66 groups in Nairobi. That is seed funding. And not just in Nairobi, in Naivasha, and also in Kisumu. So that shows you the young peoples of this country are able to do much more when they get some funding. And finally, I want to say this. As we think about the river adaptation, let us not just talk. Let us think about the young people who are living in these areas. Let us think about the women. Let us think holistically. And also let us not just think along the river, because at the end of the day, if we are talking about like an area of maybe 30, 40 meters, and we are working just along the river, remember, at the 40 meters, I still have my garbage. And I'll dump it anywhere I want. And that garbage, that waste will end up to the river. So let's think holistically, because one of the challenges that we've been having is the disjointed efforts, whereby you find that one group is cleaning the river downstream, but the upstream river, you find that the waste, there's a lot of waste there. So it's like a repetition. I don't know the best word to call it, but if we see this, if we work on this holistically, I think we are going to achieve the agenda of the river rehabilitation. Thank you so much, and thank you to Nairobi River Commission. And let's work together, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wanjiru, for that wonderful presentation. It's true, we have to do something. cleaning and someone is dirtifying is the same as trying to empty the ocean. So we need to do something about it. Now, I want to welcome our last speaker on this. She's going to tell us the linkage between river pollution and the climate commitments, of course, and initiatives in the summit which you've had, which of course ended today. That is Elizabeth Wathuti. She's a commissioner for NRC. She'll come and also a climate leader. Karibu sana, my friend. Karibu.
Thank you so much. I think I would love to end it on a call to action. And especially having heard all that we've heard today, it's very clear that we have numerous opportunities within our natural ecosystems, within the river basin, and within our rivers, but only if we let the rivers flow. And I think with every aspect of the strategy that the Commission is pushing out there, it's very also key to note that even while we are at the Africa Climate Summit, there is a component that we should never, ever forget to bring to the table, and that's the component of nature. Because nature and climate, they are both two sides of the same coin. And this is because we depend on nature for our very own survival. If we talk about the rivers, the food that we eat, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, our health, all these systems are very much defined and dependent on how we treat our ecosystems and dependent on how we are protecting and conserving nature at the same time. And I think if we do not protect and restore our ecosystems, if we do not protect and restore our rivers and work together collectively to make it happen, then it means that we will be threatening our very own survival as humanity. And at the same time, it means that we will be causing a gross injustice to the next generations that are going to inherit the mess after us. And I think for me, this is just a clear call to action for us to work collectively, to work in collaboration to make this happen. And there's one thing I always love to say, that for us to change everything, we are going to need everyone to take part and parcel in this. For us to restore and regenerate the Nairobi River Basin, we are going to need everybody. And that's individuals, citizens, governments, private sector, the media, communities. Each and every person needs to be part and parcel of it for us to be able to change everything within that basin. Why? Because the environment is everybody's responsibility. And if it doesn't affect you directly, somehow it gets to you and affects you. And I think just recently we were talking about the food that is grown along the river basin. And a lot of people may feel that the river being polluted is probably not something that's directly affecting me, but possibly the food that you bought in a supermarket was grown somewhere in a sewerage along the basin. And that means that it does directly affect you, because that definitely is food that is probably filled with metals. And I think that's a clear call to action for us to work together. And the linkages with the commitments and the announcements and the investments opportunities as well within this basin. We've just seen the presentation around how we can be able to restore our rivers and begin to see them as natural assets and begin to see them as social economic assets, because our communities, including those living along these basins, they need to build their own resilience. And one of the most important and critical ways for us to build resilience against the impacts of climate change is actually through our natural ecosystems. It's through our rivers, it's through our forests, it's through nature in itself. And that means that if we do not take action to protect and restore nature, then we are going to make it difficult for us to even respond to the impacts of climate change. So we have to begin seeing these two things as one, because they are both two sides of the same coin. We cannot address climate change without protecting nature. We cannot address climate change without making sure that we are, respecting our natural ecosystems, and that we are, each and every one of us, taking part and parcel to protect it. And I must applaud all the communities along the river basin and the young people, the youth groups, Muungano wa Wanavijiji as well, the SCOM Green Solutions. All these are young people that have come together and are doing the every bit possible that they can to protect their ecosystems. And for these communities, what they're trying to do is that they're changing the stories for their communities, and they're helping their communities as well adapt to the impacts of climate change. I don't think we need to walk miles and miles to see a green space. We don't need to walk for 2 hours or go to another city or another town to see a forest or a green space. We can create our own green spaces within the basin. We can create our own green spaces within the environment that has been bestowed upon us within our own systems. But this is only going to work if we work together collectively and understand that by working together to restore nature, then we are saving our own lives and that we are protecting our very own survival. I'll end it at that and welcome you all to join the Nairobi Rivers Commission in restoring the glory of the Nairobi River Basin. Thank you so much.
Wow. We can do better than that, please. Let's appreciate all our speakers tonight for the good job. That was awesome. Actually, I feel challenged. I feel like we need to talk about this up to around 2 a.m., but because you have to go home, I love talking about environment. I can do it the whole day. So now, at this point in time, because of the interest of time, I have at least 1.5 minutes, and I want to pick just one question. If you have a burning question, I can see many burning questions. Some are smoking, burning, etc. Who has the microphone to quench the smoke and fire in this room? Oh my goodness. The questions are so many, I don't know which to pick and which not to pick, sorry. Or we vote. Okay, I will take, allow me to just pick 3. And I can see it's all men. Okay, so. Okay, just go ahead, please.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Peter Malale, an environmental strategist. I have 2 questions and 2 mitigation strategies. Number 1, it will last 2 minutes. Number 1, you have talked about incorporating the youths. How are you going to incorporate the youths? That's the first question. Mathuti has actually mentioned about has actually mentioned about the opportunities in the Nairobi River Commission. How do we access these opportunities? Then on mitigation strategies, very short, we are looking at how best we are going to protect our rivers. I was looking at putting bees around the hotspots. It will scare these people from encroaching the rivers. Let us enhance on that. Let us plant reeds whereby they are going to sap the nitrogen, and it will be a mitigation strategy.
Pass on the mic to him, next to you there, our brother here in the front. Yes, you. Yeah, please, shoot your question.
Good evening. This is for everyone, but I think in particular, I was watching Muma, was it? Your presentation. To me, it didn't seem like in those slides I saw the already there. It didn't sound like people actually lived along this river. I heard the word investment a lot. I saw a lot of glossy photos that I couldn't recognize Nairobi in. I saw some kind of ideas around policies for the commission. But I guess I'm wondering where's the policies around anti-displacement and anti-gentrification?
Okay, thank you so much, our brother. Next. Behind him, a very quick one. Oh, I can see there's a lady at the back. Of course, you have to balance. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Teddy Warrior from Climate Advocates Bosses Unidas. We won the Emmy in 2020 for writing the first climate action curriculum. And given that I grew up in Buruburu, Phase 1, when Nairobi River was clean, I was born in 1978. One of my dreams and hopes is to see that river become clean again, and also to use my climate action curriculum, which is about to be approved by KICD, to create awareness to the children and also to the adults as a first step. So that's the contribution I would like to make. And I thank Madhuti for being there, and also at Kusi Festival.
Thank you. Our sister, please, your question very fast. But now we pick those 3 from 3. I can see someone is advocating for someone to stand up and make the noise so that we see them. We'll try and see because of time. Yes, you can stand, introduce yourself, and you give us your question.
Hello, I'm Laura Kimanthi. I am an undergraduate marine captain and also a blue economy champion. My question goes to the whole commission. You said that we're cleaning the river. Do we have plans in place to keep the rivers clean, even generation and generations to come? Is the commission just there to clean the rivers, or what plan do you have to keep the rivers clean in 10 years to come or 5 years to come, so that we do not experience the same problem again? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As the microphone now moves to this side, I will ask, of course, we have 2 more questions from this end. Please, I will request you can pick those questions. I'm sure every one of us has something to say. From the commission, the 2 commissioners can give us an answer to that. Maybe you can pick it up. Yeah, I think you have a microphone around there, yes. Yeah.
Can I? Okay. So I'll respond to the questions about young people and the opportunities. And one of the key reasons why we are saying let us see the Nairobi River Basin as a natural asset and a social economic asset is also because of the opportunities in terms of the jobs creation that the entire restoration is going to create, and not just in terms of cleaning and restoring the basin, but also in terms of continuity, because with what Commissioner Mumo presented, there are numerous opportunities of some of the natural assets that we still are going to be able to create after we've had that restoration. And I think with our stakeholders, when we were trying to map out the strategies and pick some of the key action points and where we will begin with, we were able to map out about over 500,000 direct jobs will be created with the execution of the first phase in itself only within the basin. And I think that in itself means that with the much needed support that we need to be able to execute this plan and strategy, it means that we will be able to create these direct opportunities that definitely, a lot of it will definitely go to the young people who are already driving the solutions and driving the restoration within their own spaces along the basin. And I think for me, that's actually also a call to action to a lot of partners as well, to come on board to support this mission so that we can be able to create these opportunities for our young people to engage in this regeneration. And I think for the first phase, those are just direct jobs creation. And you can imagine how that means in terms of now the indirect opportunities that will be created within the system itself. I hope I've answered your question, but that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. I think there was 2 questions probably that I could answer. I think one was in the presentation. Sorry, my friend there, you asked where are people in this whole conversation. I think that's the essence of that. And then there was the one about what happens in the next 5 to 10 years, long term. I think the reason why we're doing this is because of people. Because if you think about the impact of river pollution, both direct and indirect, it's affecting communities, both in the formal and informal sectors. And I think many times we talk about the informal sector areas, but not realizing that it's a broader ecosystem issue that's affecting people. But coming back to the visioning around that and its relation to climate change and climate adaptation, we know that one of the things that we are seeing and probably are going to see a lot more of is the whole issue of floods and drought. And if you've been in Nairobi during the rainy season and in El Niños, you'll know that when the flooding happens, the communities that live along the rivers are most vulnerable to that impact. So one of the things that an advocacy for investment and looking at this whole regeneration issue differently is that it gives us opportunities to begin to invest in people and in their environment. So better land use. The government of Kenya has got a program on the affordable housing, and we want to see how that is integrated with river regeneration to better replan and handle communities. Settlement or displacement are very sensitive issues, and as a commission, we want to make sure that all those issues are handled carefully, with the priority being people and the environment, or environment and people. So I may have not had a chance to go into the detail of it, but certainly dealing with the communities that live along the river and making sure that we are putting the land into good use is a priority. So we start with cleaning, then we start dealing with the systemic issues of how we deal with land, and create the opportunities for investment for long-term sustainability. So if we can see the rivers as a catalyst for economic growth or socioeconomic growth, then the lens at which we approach regeneration or restoration then is different, because we want to make sure that this is a good environment that people are happy to live in. So for us, those are the important things. So we don't want this to be a start and stop cleaning activity, because that's what it's been in the past. We want to start by cleaning and dealing with the immediate issues, but we also want to build the momentum for exploring this asset for socioeconomic development and putting people at the heart of that. So I don't know if that captures that, but it certainly is a very important agenda for the Commission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I'll just pick one very fast that we can allow. I just pick this one, please, for now.
Yeah, all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Hassan Mwangi from Latewa Community-Based Organization. I think when we talk about Nairobi River, the last generation who saw it clean. I actually taught myself to swim in the Nairobi River. That was early. And I'm a testimony of Nairobi River being clean. When we were young, around 11 years old, we used to see animals from Masai Mara, that is Savo, coming to drink water from the Nairobi rivers. Okay. And it was actually very, very, very exciting in our childhood times. Now, my question to the Commission, we are talking in this Africa Climate Summit about the green energy. Have you ever thought that we can harness the water from the rivers to generate electricity and contribute to the national grid?
Thank you. I think Dr. Pamela will handle that. Oh my goodness, I'm pressed of time, and I can see hands are waving. Okay. Okay, give it to her. We had only one lady. That's the last one I'm picking, please, the last one. The rest of you, we'll see you in the next meeting.
I'm Elvira Songoro from Muungano na Vijijis and Slum Dwellers International, Kenya. I'm helping answer a question, not asking one. So there was a question that was asked, opportunities for the youth. You get that the opportunities that is there, the county government is ready to help. CSOs have already organized themselves, but you get in the community, the groups are working in silos. So if they organize and come together, they can get these many opportunities that exist, and that is what we do in Muungano na Vijijis, helping these groups organize themselves. There are so many, they have these green spaces, and actually how we started this conversation on the ecosystem adaptation, do you know that in Korogosho, a group known as Temple Arts, they are facing evictions. Who are giving them these evictions? Our political leaders, not to be mentioned. So if we get different support from, they are already organized. The opportunities for the youth, just help them, they just need for us to work together and push this agenda. And the last thing you go home thinking about, these youths are doing so much in the river. They are removing so much. There's the waste, the that. But what is the river giving them back in return? So that is...
Thank you.
It was talking about. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Daktari, on the bit of generation of power.
Thank you. I want to challenge all of you who listened to the president's speech during this week. The advice was to Africa, go green first before industrialization. How many picked this? Only one person. The key message is we have to change our strategies on how we tackle climate issues. And this is what the River Commission is trying to embrace. The first 3 or so years is just about going green and creating jobs. Yes, more water, more trees, it's more everything, and creating jobs for the people who live along the river. But I wanted to add that it is not just the generation of jobs from the river. We are in touch with the Ministry of ICT and started to think of the river basin having digital hubs. When we are enjoying our tea and our beers in the river basin, we must be having internet. This is a job creation for the youths. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let us appreciate our panelists for the night. Please, Dr. Mumo is raising his hand.
Yeah, energy, that's a very interesting conversation, and I'm actually quite curious to know how old you are if you saw animals coming from Savo to the rivers. But I think that's for another day. We can have that conversation outside here. But quite interestingly, if you followed the conversation the last 2 days, and I'm glad Dr. Olet has brought that forward, the next frontier of energy, or what you call clean energy, is the whole hydrogen conversation, generating power from hydrogen. And if you actually study the science that's developing, a lot of the science is pointing towards using resources like waste, or what you call wastewater, as part of that ecosystem of generating energy. So there's opportunities for infusing that thinking of clean energy around with river regeneration. That's not yet been explored, but the conversation is there. But even when you start talking about basic clean energy technologies like hydroelectricity, with polluted rivers, you can't go very far. And we already know that one of the clarion calls for regenerating the Nairobi River is that there's a huge investment called Thwake Dam, which essentially is threatened to become a white elephant if we allow the pollution to continue. And it's got huge opportunities for energy creation. So there's opportunities for building new clean energy plants along the rivers using the waste that is being generated as part of that ecosystem. But we also have hydroelectricity that can be generated from our rivers, which will be impacted by pollution. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's appreciate our panelists for tonight. Let's appreciate them, please. Asanteni sana. We can talk so much about this, but because of time, please allow you to get back to your seats. Asanteni sana. We do appreciate your input. We'll have these discussions as we proceed. Of course, this is not the end of it. I wish now to call this to an end, but before that, I want to welcome our peers to come and give us the closing remarks. My name is Dan Kaburu. I am Mammoth award-winning environment journalist. That is why I'm so much interested in this discussion. So I'll be reaching out to the Commission for more work and collaboration as the media, from the media desk. Asante sana, karibu, Madam PS. Asante. Nice. Thank you so much. Asante.
Asante sana, Kaburu. I think you're the kind of people we are looking at to partner with. We need a lot of communication around this subject, not just on the negative part of it, in terms of how messy the river is, but the many efforts different people are putting on this ecosystem. For example, the lady who spoke there, they are doing a lot of good stuff, and many other groups. So we all agree that the undertaking to regenerate the Nairobi rivers is enormous. The action plan is ready, but it requires agile, dynamic leadership to adapt and update this plan under different contexts as we progress with the plan. It also requires a lot of resources, both human and financial resources. And the reason we are calling all of us to be part of this historical journey, I'm very sure none of us would not want to see a clean Nairobi River. Those who have traveled, you have seen cities, rivers cutting through them, very clean, attracting a lot of tourism. The other day I was in Korea. I was so impressed by the river which cuts through the city. Very clean, and in their presentation, it was one of the many different revenue streams they have that is bringing a lot of resources to the country. Because of why? Tourism and waterfront developments. So I'm calling upon all of us to be part of this, and especially the media. Honestly speaking, it also calls for change of how we behave, how we do our thing. She talked about a group downstream cleaning and another group upstream. It's a circular kind of a thing. And this is why this commission was created. It is so purpose, deliberate, and this is not just from any person. This is from the president himself. And every day I can tell you the commission is working. The president wants to be updated on what we are doing. So we cannot afford not to have all of us on this journey. So please, Kaburu, I like you because you can reach all of us, or majority of us, through different means, through the media. Of course, there are things we need to put first. On our waste management, both solid and industrial liquid waste, everything together. Our sewer system is a priority because we must address those things. But as a people, it's time to act. It's time to do the right thing and be proud of our city. Before reaching out to the other people, to the other stakeholders, let's do something. A call to action. And that is when, now, we be innovative. There's a young person there who was asked, where is the opportunity? Even in this state, there are so many opportunities. Imagine when it is clean. Those are the questions which we need to ask ourselves. So I want to appreciate the chair and your team for work well done. I can tell you in the plan, in the strategy, there's a lot of work that this commission has put in place. At least we are not in our silos doing our small thing. But that coordination aspect, because that is the difference with the other initiatives which have happened before. Issues, enforcement, compliance, we must. So I'm calling all of us to be part of this journey to ensure that if not for ourselves, for our kids, for our children, and looking in this room, most of us, I don't see any, except my professor here, ndiye ameendaenda kidogo. But looking at us, we are that group, maybe young there, with young kids, some of us not yet there. So we are doing this for generations to come. And I like somebody who asked about sustainability. It's very key, it's very important, and that is why we are talking about behavior change on how we do our thing. Thank you very much. I look forward to engaging with you as we implement the plan by the commission, and your support. Where you are, talk about Nairobi Rivers and the work happening in this commission. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
To leave, thank you so much, Asanteni sana. Thank you for your time. You can greet your neighbor, your friend, as you find your way to your house. Thank you, and God bless you.
Part of the solution. You are part of the solution.